Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. If you are tuning in on the replay, then do make sure you give us a hello in the comments. And for everyone who is starting to hop on live, hello, good morning, and thank you for tuning in. Today, I have the wonderful pleasure of speaking to Evan, whose surname I'm going to attempt to pronounce correctly, Tzivanakis.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So, Evan, throughout his career, has managed more than 500 employees across 8 countries and has led companies to expand across the Asia Pacific region by successfully crafting the right company culture and leading people from the front. With that experience, he now is an executive coach. He helps executive leaders and organizations build inspiring leadership from the inside out. Evan, welcome today to our live and to the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Wow, I feel overwhelmed with your introduction. Pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So, Evan and I were chatting before we hit go live on this, and Evan was sharing with me that he's recently written a piece on situational leadership and becoming adaptable in certain situations. Therefore, we think this would be a great topic for us to discuss today on our session. So, Evan, let's start by what does it mean to be a leader in a business? What does that even look like?
Yeah, it's a fuzzy word, right?
Exactly.
It means different things to different people.
Mm.
And I can share a story like from my training coaching experience with
Yeah,
my
great.
potential clients. When some of them come to me, they say, I want to become a better leader. And it really means different things to different people. So
Mm.
when I do my first call with my potential clients to see if we're a good fit, it's something that I do that is called active inquiry. I ask them some questions, they ask me some questions, and then we end up realizing that leadership means different things to different people.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it can mean influence, it can mean communication, it can mean engaging people, employees, it can be management, it can really mean different things. But for me, I guess if you were to describe leadership, especially for the last couple of years, is the ability to influence, I suppose,
Mm.
and maybe with a great resignation as well that is happening in the US. A lot of people during COVID, we reevaluated our values,
Mm-hmm.
personal
Yeah.
values, life values. So I think one of the things of leadership lately is to actually, in a business content, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are a small business owner or a manager, is to really, can you keep people together?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess as well, us as business owners, we're evaluating our values and what we stand for and reassessing things with everything that's happened over the last 2 years. We have to bear in mind too that our team members and employees are doing exactly the same thing.
Yes, and how to lead in a world that will never stop changing, right? Like
Yeah.
right now, I don't know if you can understand, but I am live from my office. So what
Mm.
I had to do, we are blessed to have a 3-year-old son,
Hmm.
but bless him. The only way that I can keep him away when I'm live is by locking the door.
Yes, and handing an iPad or something similar.
Yeah, as much as we don't want to.
Mm.
So right now, we really, employees and people across all industries, we're really juggling like a jungler, personal demands, while at
Yeah.
the same time we try to keep up with work. And you know you know lead you know leaders play a significant role nowadays, because you really need to first of all make sure that you are safe, your family is safe. And I'm not going to go down the COVID story and
Mm.
analyze all that, that's a different thing. But
Yeah.
it's keep safe, keep your family safe, at the same time keep your team together,
Hmm.
keep them safe,
Hmm.
if they are working from a physical location, if they have to come to the office, and keep them happy and keep them engaged. And these challenges are really responsible for some of the executives and some of the managers feeling overwhelmed. you
Mm.
know reduced revenue, feeling stressed. Therefore,
Yeah.
I do think that the health of a company is impacted a lot. High attrition, creating a culture of blaming, which
Mm.
leads then the manager, you have to explain all your decisions. So it is perhaps one of the most challenging situations that we've been through, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So how do we cope with that as a leader? How do we deal with that? Because we, as you say, we have so many things coming to us at the same time, not to mention the home interruptions that perhaps we didn't have before. I also have young children, so I completely understand that as well. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and periods where we were homeschooling at the same time as running a business, and your team and your employees are also trying to do all those things. How do we actually navigate that without feeling that sense of burnout and overwhelm? And that, quite frankly, at any one point in time, we are not, we're being a terrible leader and a terrible parent and a terrible, spouse and daughter and son and all these things, like feeling
Yeah.
like actually, I'm not doing any of this really well.
One of the things that I learned through working from home is that leadership starts from home.
Mm,
And right, you really have to lead your kids.
yes.
So just like you will do with an employee, if you have an important call or anything, you're not going to scream at them. So you
Yes.
really need to, you even, yeah, you could feel overwhelmed and you say, oh, take your
Mm,
iPad and stay there, or let me,
mm.
but it's not, it doesn't work well, and you're passing, you're educating them the wrong way. So
Yeah.
I guess you just, what something I learned is really, I need to treat my family, especially the
Mm,
kids, like an adult. I really need to
mhm.
explain what I do, and I need to set boundaries. I say to him, like, if you see me sitting at this chair, it means
Yes.
that daddy is working. So please, it's not that
Yeah.
I don't want to play with you, but
Yes.
I really need to set work time, play time, and I
Mm.
really need to sell it to him. All right,
Yeah, completely.
I need his buy-in. So, and then he
Mm.
says, okay, I understand now. So after a couple of times, he get it. And then he
Yeah.
sometimes when he sees me not sitting at the desk, he says, oh, daddy, can we play now?
Mm. Yeah. Is it the
So
right time?
yes, so I said setting boundaries and understanding that, first of all, I think, I don't think you can lead the company if you cannot lead your family.
Yeah. And I think we should make a distinction here as well, that leading your family doesn't mean bossing them around. It doesn't mean coming, to your spouse and giving them a list of do's and don'ts. It is a communication between the people in the family and yourself, in the same way that leadership in a business doesn't mean bossing around your staff. It means communicating with them.
You need a lot of patience, right? And you
Yeah.
need to what we discussed before. You really need to be able to be an adaptable leader.
Yeah.
You need to be an octopus, octopus
Mm,
leader. You really need to adjust your approach according to what is happening around. And this is something that I call situational leadership. And
mm,
this is a module and a theory that was initially developed by Kenneth Blanchard
mhm,
in the US, where situation and leadership is exactly what the word probably you understand is there is no such leadership style that is better than another, and that's the key.
mm.
So we really need to be adaptable nowadays. And sometimes if I'm working from home, maybe my traditional 9 to 5 goes out of the window, right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So really, we need to adapt, and we really need to use that situational leadership style that is going to get our best results. Because I remember when I was when I was in my 2025, I was in England, I was in the UK, I was a young leader. I was blessed. I
Mm,
was by the age of 25, I was managing 2 companies, one in Bristol and one in
mm,
Swindon.
mhm.
I was down with the farmers. so 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 I was really, it was a different environment, different psychology, people were different, the economy was different. So I
Mm,
was really in your face, rah, rah, rah type of a guy. And it
Yeah.
worked because it
Mm.
was a sales company. It worked, but it doesn't work anymore. So we really need to be adaptable. And situational leadership means that leaders, managers, whatever, business owners, we should really be able to use different leadership styles depending on the situation,
Yeah, that's really
and
interesting, isn't it? And I think that particularly for new leaders, people come in to a leadership position and they think, okay, I need to find what so and so does, and I need to copy that, and that needs to be my leadership style. But actually, that's not what we're speaking about at all. We're speaking about it changing depending on who you're talking to and who you're managing.
exactly as you said, depending on employees'
Mm,
competencies in their
mm,
task areas
of
and
course.
commitment to their tasks.
Mm,
So you realize when you manage people that your leadership style should really vary from one person to
mm,
another. And
yeah.
sometimes you may have the same person, but you may have a different task or a different environment that you need to change again. So
Yes.
you may even sometimes lead the same person one way sometimes and another way at another time. So,
Mm,
and I realize that you need a lot of patience. You need to lower your ego. Uh, it's,
yes.
and I think a main advantage with being a situational leader is that you earn the trust of your people just because you are tailoring your leadership style to something that they can relate to.
Yeah. That
And
makes
this is
sense.
and this is I think something, be able to relate, be able to mirror is something I think that I learned from being a sales leader.
Mm, yeah.
And I think people that coming from a sales background, communication, marketing, you have to change your style, your approach, your tone of voice, your body language, your pitch according to the other person, right? So this is,
Yes.
I think, something that sales leaders might find easier than an IT leader, for example, that is more in, I'm coding and, how do I manage? But you can learn it. Leadership is like a muscle. Every now and then you need to train it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's got me thinking as well, though, that some people might think, well, if I'm changing my style for each situation and each person, does that make me fake? Does that make me not genuine? Does that make me appear kind of flaky, as if I'm going to, um, you know, or unpredictable, I suppose, in different situations? How would you counter that argument?
No, I think it's the opposite.
Mm. That it actually shows that you are
Yeah.
able to communicate. Oh, I think we might have lost Evan's signal briefly there. Let's hope that he comes back again in a sec. I suspect that his internet has briefly done something funky. So let's hope that he appears back again in a minute once once that's sorted out. But I think that this conversation is incredibly important, particularly if you are a new leader, particularly if you're new to leadership and you're trying to sort of work out what style you want to have. Like Evan said, it's about adapting, and it's about being adaptable to those different situations you might have. Right, here we go. Let's add Evan back in. There we go. We're back.
You lost me or I lost you. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Um,
lost connection, I think, there, but I'm glad we're back again and we're still live, Evan.
no
So,
worries. No worries.
that's all
So
good. Yeah,
I
as you were
heard I
saying.
heard your question. Yes, so
Mm,
you don't do it again. You look. I think is I understand. Look, as a leader, you should have your values.
mm,
You know your mission. You know your values. Being adaptable, it doesn't mean that you are changing your values. It means that
yeah,
you are making a comfortable environment for your people. And
yeah,
that's it. Right? It really situational leadership allows you to evaluate your employees on what they need, and how
mm,
they respond best. And you know, it's it's a learned skill, and it's not about changing who you are. And you need to keep your style, your personality, your values, your mission, your what you want to achieve. By but you're just creating a comfortable environment for your people, and by having trust in and confidence in yourself, and know that you are, as a leader, you need to have a student mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Marshall Goldsmith said, he wrote a book, "What got you here won't get you there."
So
And
true. So
it's very
true.
true. It's very relevant today, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, I was thinking about other situations where we do this kind of thing, where we adapt based on the situation. So if you had somebody coming to your house for dinner and they were allergic to a certain type of food, even though that was always your favorite food to cook, you wouldn't cook it for them because they were allergic to it. Whereas if you had, another friend coming who wasn't, you would cook that food, and that doesn't make you not genuine. That doesn't make you anything other than adaptable to the situation, and you're going with how that other individual likes to be interacted with, or likes to be fed in this example. And I think adaptive leadership is very similar to that type of situation, where actually you're not being disingenuine in any way. You're actually being thoughtful, you're being empathetic, you're
That's
being
right.
kind, you're being all those qualities that actually are, contrary to some people's beliefs, are what's needed to be a leader, as opposed to being, bossy or anything like that.
Exactly. And your example, if you don't adapt, if you don't know if they have any allergies, it's a
Mm,
matter of life or death. It's
yeah.
so if you allow me to give another example, let's say
Mm,
if you're a flying captain, if you're in command of the aircraft,
mm,
if you're cruising on an altitude and everything is fine, you can just delegate and you just monitor.
mm-hmm.
Let the flying pilot handle. You just monitor,
Mm-hmm.
you supervise. But if you have an emergency situation, you really need to change your leadership style. You cannot just delegate and
Yes.
stand and stay there. You really need to take control, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
cannot afford to say,
absolutely.
"Oh, I'm a good manager, I'm going to delegate," and then because you are in a different situation. So
Mm,
that model is basically, it has four parameters: is S1, S2, S3, S4.
mm,
And is if I can explain a little bit, the first style is S1, is the directing style, which is a
mm-hmm.
high task, low relationship, which
Okay.
means which means leaders define the roles and the task of the follower, and you oversee them closely. You make the
Mm-hmm.
decision. So communication is very much one way.
Yeah.
And
So this is almost what some people might try and describe as kind of micromanaging. No?
Micromanagement is different.
Okay.
Micromanagement is being annoying, is is going
Yeah.
behind people's laptops
Yeah.
and
Okay.
behind the
Yeah. Yeah.
back and what you're doing. No, it's
So
you can
that's an extreme.
well, it's something that a lot of people do, and they still do it. And
Mm,
they even monitor people's laptops when they work from home. But
yes.
it's not
Crazy.
micromanagement. It's for people. Is a good approach to have in high emergency situations, right?
Mm,
And
yeah.
it's for people who lack skills and competence, but are enthusiastic and committed. So
Got
normally, for new employees, you cannot delegate everything because
mm,
they don't know, but they are committed, they are enthusiastic, they need direction, and they need
mhm.
supervision so they can start. But you're
Understood.
not taking their enthusiasm away, you're
Mhm,
just directing them the right way. It's like, again, we're going back to kids. It's like when they're learning how to ride the bicycle,
mhm.
they really want to go down the road, but they're going to fall down. So you really need to be there a little bit to support them, right? You're not
Yeah.
micromanaging them because they
Mm,
have the enthusiasm. So
yeah.
that's number
Understood.
one. Yeah.
Mm,
And then there's another approach, we call it S2, which is the coaching approach, which is
mhm.
high task, high relationship. You as a leader, you still define the role, you still define the task, but you are open to ideas and suggestions from your follower. So the decision remains with you as a leader, but the communication is not just one way, it's two ways now.
Yeah.
So this kind of approach is good for people who have some skill, but they are not so committed. They need direction because they are still relatively inexperienced.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're not directing too much. You're more of a coach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then the third one is supporting, which is low task, high relationship. So here, you're passing your day-to-day decision, task allocation processes to the follower.
Yeah.
You facilitate and you take part in the decision making, but the control is with the follower.
Got yeah.
So this is a good approach if you have somebody who is highly skilled, but they lack the confidence or they lack the motivation.
Yeah.
They don't need much direction because of the skill, but they need support to increase their confidence.
Yeah.
So, and it goes very well with the sports analogy. Maybe you had a striker who was very good. He comes from he was good, but for the last couple of games, something went wrong. Maybe he got a red card and he was sent off. So maybe he lost his confidence. So what do? You don't need to tell him what to do, but you support him.
Yes.
Because he needs that belief. And the last one is delegating, which is low task, low relationship. You as a leader, you are still involved in decisions and problem solving, but the control is totally with the follower. He decides or she decides when and how the leader will be involved. So it is a very much you're just there watching, and they let them do. And you can have this approach if the task that you're delegating is not of a very high importance. In case they make a mistake, who cares,
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are, and this kind of people, this kind of employee or this kind of situations, they are able and willing to work on a project by themselves with leader supervision or support. So again, to give you an example, sometimes I let my son prepare his milk.
Yes. Yeah.
If he drops it, he drops it. It's not the end of the world,
Yeah.
So that's a that's a low task, low relationship. He might learn more than if I do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I actually teach him how to make his milk, I'll have more time to do my work.
Yes.
There you go.
Amazing. And so with situational leadership and adaptive leadership styles, then with each of these four styles, presumably we kind of move around between these styles depending on, like you said, the employee, or perhaps even the employee and the specific task they're doing in relation to their role. So you could manage one person with all four of these styles depending on the task and the role they're doing at that point in time. Is that right?
Exactly. Depends how long they've been with you, depends on the task, depends on the situation, depends on the background, and it applies to relationships as well,
Yes.
it can apply to relationships as well, because it's life. So so it depends. Again, you may have somebody who is very, very good, very experienced, but maybe they made a mistake before and they lost confidence. So you cannot give him too much control, because actually if you go in and if you give them more control, they will actually lose more confidence.
Yes.
So you just need to work on a different approach, because they know how to do something. They just need to build in themselves more. So so behavior and behavioral coaching has to do a lot with leadership nowadays. And to be an effective leader, I think you need to be a little bit of a psychologist nowadays.
Yes.
Right?
Or I sometimes feel like a therapist.
Yeah, like a therapist, because people are going through many things, and this is where sometimes people misunderstand. Empathy doesn't mean you have to feel sorry for your people. Empathy is empathies, how do I say, is be able to see things from their perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
That doesn't mean
so
that you have to get in the pit with them, but you can see it from their perspective.
exactly, and it doesn't mean you have to lower. It doesn't mean you have to lower your standards because of the pandemic. Your
Yeah.
standards can remain here. You can get the same result, but you need to change your approach.
Yeah, and as you mentioned before, you still have your values and your mission and all those things, which are the things that are don't move. They are the things that are in place overall and still overarching your organization and its culture and all those things. But we need to be adaptable, particularly in the current time, to other situations as well.
Yeah, I think it all starts by knowing your people. You know,
Yes.
like the more you know, the better you can manage. Because, like, you know, what's going on in their personal life, it's important nowadays. You know,
It really is, because do they, like us, have kids that are in the other room that they're trying to entertain at the same time as trying to work? Or, have they got elderly parents that they're having to drop in and look after, and all those kinds of things that come into the situation? Have they just had a relationship breakdown? Have they, just lost their dog? Whatever it is, they all impact people and how they show up at work, because we're one human and we can't separate those things.
I had a coaching session this morning with a client in Australia. So they asked me about performance reviews, and I said, "Look, it's a different era. Get your people out for a coffee. Get them to the pub. You know,
Yeah.
have one-on-ones in the pub. And
Yeah.
this is something I learned in the UK. You know, you
Mm.
go out with your
Yeah.
staff one-on-ones. You know, have 5 meetings if you have 5 staff. You know, Monday
Yeah.
one person on Monday, one person. Okay, make sure you don't end up an alcoholic yourself,
I
because
was going
every
to
day.
say, yeah, you have to be careful not run those back to back, or you're in the pub for 5 hours.
And make sure you're not the one drinking more than them, right?
Yes.
So
Very
sit
true.
back, you know, in the pub. And you know, Australia now, it's summertime, it's lovely weather,
Mm.
it's not too hot, it's not too cold, and
Yeah.
have a chat, you know, and tell them, how are you, what's going on, you know, and try to find out what is going on behind the scenes. I mean,
Yeah.
what I mean behind the scenes is at work, and if you cannot do it online. And
Mhm.
you know, are they having a supportive partner at home, or did their dog died, or
Yeah.
you know, are they you know, maybe some of them, you know, maybe another partner lost their job. You never
Yeah.
really know. And normally, I think if an employee is not performing according to expectations, normally the environment is not supportive. What I mean supportive is you don't know enough.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, and
maybe, you know,
particularly if they've been performing well, and something has dropped off, then I typically find that that's usually the result of something at home that's impacting them. It's often not the business, but if they feel that they can't come to me as a leader and tell me about that, then something's gone wrong.
yes. And this is where you look like an idiot, when if you're a manager and you don't know what is going on, and all you do is push for result. You look, a leader should be a manager, a leader, whatever you're gonna call it, an
Mhm.
organizational leader. You should be able to manage three things:
Mhm.
relationships, results, ego. I mean,
Yes.
within your team.
Mm.
If you are high on ego, people won't want to work for you long
Yeah.
term, because all
Yeah.
you care is about yourself.
Yeah.
If you're too high on relationships, again, it means you're going to become too friendly, and that might prevent you from
Mm.
pushing your people.
Yeah, it
And
does.
then
Yeah.
if you're too high on results, but you lack the ability to build relationship with your people, you're going to drive your people crazy, and again, they will not want to work for you. So you really need to be able, you know, effective leaders are the ones that they can find the right balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for many people, certainly I know for me, I think ego is a big one that gets in the way.
You know, it's good.
You need it in some. in some dose, certainly.
People
But
who have ego and who are called perfectionists and all that
mm,
is good, because your intentions are good,
true, very
but
true.
maybe you need to channel your ego in a different way.
Exactly.
People with ego, with who are perfectionists and all that, they have a good intention,
Mm,
but you know not everyone has the not not everyone has the same level of interest in the company or in the task.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
And particularly if you're a business owner, you need to understand that actually the likelihood is most of your employees will not be as enthusiastic about your business as you are, because it's your business.
yes, and this is where sometimes people say engagement and productivity. Some employees are engaged but not
Mm.
productive.
Yes.
So if you have an employee who is engaged, he loves the business, he loves what you do, he is with you but not productive, he probably needs training.
Yeah.
If you have an employee, but on the reverse, you may have people who are productive but not engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they'll quit tomorrow to get another job.
Yeah.
So you really need to know your people and to find out exactly. And if you really want to engage employees, it's not one way solution. If you have
Mm.
5 employees, you need to be able to wear 5 different hats.
Yeah.
Like I have an
Yeah.
employee in Asia. One of my employees, for example, is I know she's saving money to buy a flat.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she is in the sales department. So I gave her a target that if she increases over the next 3 months her closing ratio by 15%, she will get an extra bonus that is
Yeah.
going
Which
to
will
go
enable her to reach her goal.
to contribute. That's on top
Yeah.
of her usual commission. So I'm giving her what she wants
Mm-hmm.
because I know what she wants, because I sat down with her and I tell her, how are you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to realize as well that not all your employees are going to be motivated by extra money. That might not be what motivates them. If they do have, for example, young kids, they might be much more motivated by an extra 2 days holiday a year so they can get time off when the kids are off, or finishing early on a Tuesday so they can do the school run.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So it's interesting if you're a manager and if you're a business owner, because I understand you have pressure, you have bills to pay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the first time that you have to go digital,
Yeah.
to sell your products digital, not only physical.
Yeah.
Um, you're in Scotland, right? Is it
I
lockdown or
am.
everything is open?
Um, we're pretty much open. There's some restrictions on large events and things, but we're pretty much open at the moment.
It looks like pretty sunny. If I can, I think I see a window
It's
from there.
not too bad today. Yeah, it's not too bad. We had snow last week, so that's melted now. So yeah, it's not too bad.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Evan, I think this discussion has been really, really interesting. I know I certainly have very much enjoyed it. I'm sure our watchers and listeners will be enjoying it and will enjoy it when they are tuning in on the podcast and on the replays. I thank you so much for your time. Can you let our listeners and watchers know how they can get hold of you, where they can find out more details about you and what you do?
Yeah, well, I am quite active on LinkedIn.
Great.
So if you see my name there, you just search me, you will find me, Evan Tzivanakis, and at my website, executivecoachasia.com.
Wonderful. And we'll put
So
those links in the show notes for people as well so that they can click on those and find you.
yeah, no worries. I mean, that situational leadership is something that I have. One of the programs that I do, it's I teach situational leadership in one of the intensive learning
Amazing.
programs that I have, which I call it Leading in Uncertain Times. It's a
Great.
2-day intensive program, everything online, and participants, are business owners, managers, leaders, aspiring leaders, and then we really explore the most critical, success factors of strong leadership today that, eventually will help them to bring their people together, inspire them, increase sales, but at the end,
Yeah.
become a happier you, because at the end of the day, you want to be happy, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm completely completely on board with the whole purpose of what we do is to be happy.
Yes, and COVID, not COVID, the practical thing, but the whole situation made a lot of people reevaluate. And
Yeah.
if you're happy and you do something that you love, it's gonna rub off, and it has a knock-on effect.
Completely. It absolutely does. Evan, thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time today. We will, as I said, we will put all the details of Evan in the show notes. Thank you for joining us, those who have watched live. I appreciate that. And we will speak to you all very soon. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.